What we do on Bearded Geeks will echo eternity. A podcast will rise. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bearded Geeks podcast, a podcast where two bearded besties like to talk about movies. We'll go over the movie scene by scene, have a discussion, and give our opinions. At the end of the review, we will give our closing thoughts, some tidbits, and give our ratings if we think the movie belongs on top shelf, bottom shelf, or in a burn barrel. I'm Daniel, a Bearded Geek. With me as always, my co-host and best friend, Chris.
What's up, guys?
We are going over Gladiator today. Movie from the 2000s. This was your pick, and I know why you picked this. I think because of our first review with Man of Steel, you talked a lot about how you feel about Russell Crowe and how much you enjoyed Gladiator, that after we did that, asked you what you want to do next. You're like, I want to watch Gladiator. So,
yeah, because I probably hadn't seen it since 2000, maybe 2010. Oh, man, I loved it then. Son hadn't seen it, so it was his first watch with me. Oh, man, it was a great movie.
So that pretty much tells me the last time you watched it was years ago.
Yeah.
Same for me. I have not seen this movie probably 20 years.
So it's been longer than me then.
Probably. I remember this movie when it was still around. This was a Hollywood video rental that my dad picked up when I was young. I remember watching some with him, but I didn't really remember the movie very well. And after that, it became one of those movies. Like, I feel like this was a big movie that was on TNT all the time.
Yeah,
like,
I remember it on TNT.
I think that's when I saw it the most, was on TNT. And it's crazy that, I don't know what the exact date was when this came out in 2000. This is now a 25-year-old movie.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm old. I am definitely old.
I mean, this was... See, I'm 35 now. I don't think I've seen this since I was probably,
oh dear Lord,
13, 14 years old. And even then, I just don't really... This felt like a brand new watch for me, watching it again. I watched it twice for the review. I watched it about a week ago, and I watched it again last night before the recording that we're doing today.
Very fresh on you.
No, it was extremely fresh for me. And it felt like a brand new movie because I know the hype of this movie. I know this is probably a lot of people's like top 5, top 10 films.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
So we'll get started, as we always do, going over director, writer, and some facts about the film. Just like Man of Steel, I'm curious to see where we line up as far as facts go and see how this is. So this is directed by Ridley Scott. That took me by surprise.
Yes.
Because when you think Ridley Scott, you think the Alien franchise, you know? And I feel like a lot of times that's the only bit of his work that I'm really familiar with is the Alien franchise. So knowing that he made Gladiator, I was kind of taken back from that a bit.
Yeah, Alien, it's more predominant. I mean, that's what he's known for. So,
movie written by David Franzoni. I like saying Franzoni. Franzoni. John Logan and William Nicholson. The script was written by Franzoni after he read the ancient Roman text Historia Augusta. Music by Lisa Jared and our boy Hans Zimmer. Is back again. I feel like once we go through a lot of like these big movies, Hans Zimmer's name will be showing up a lot.
Oh, music's great.
Our cast: Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, Oliver Reed, Richard Harris, Derek Jacobi, Jamon Hanso, I don't think I've ever said his name right, David Schofield, John Shrapnel, Thomas Arana, Ralph Moeller, Spencer Treat Clark, David Hemmings, and Tommy Flanagan.
Yeah, some of them I never even knew.
But there are some recognizable faces in this.
Yes.
I think this movie had a lot of people that you have probably seen in a bunch of movies and shows, but never really knew before. And we'll talk about them as we get more into when they show up in certain scenes. Gladiator was made on a budget of $103 million and grossed $460.6 million worldwide, making it the second highest grossing film of 2000, right behind Mission Impossible 2.
Yep.
Which is funny to me because I've been a pretty big fan of the Mission Impossible movies. I think 2 is the wackiest out of all those movies. That'll be a fun franchise to get into at some point.
I love MI.
Mel Gibson was first considered for the role of Maximus, but turned it down because he thought he was too old for the part.
Yep.
I disagree. Russell Crowe was good in this. I think Mel Gibson would have been great in this too.
I do too. 100% do. And especially seeing him in, The Patriot and Braveheart, this would have been right up his genre.
Braveheart was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah.
And I think Braveheart, 92, 93 when that came out.
Oh gosh.
I don't
remember. My head, I don't remember. But yeah, that's one of my favorites as well.
Mel Gibson saying that he was too old. But then again, what's crazy, you know how old Russell Crowe was in this when this was made?
Oh.
35 years
35.
old.
Golly.
So I don't know where Mel Gibson was in 2000, but no, he was still doing stuff like Lethal Weapon. I think they're on like Lethal Weapon 3 or 4 at the time. So,
makes sense.
But yeah, no, Mel Gibson I think would have been fantastic for this. Oliver Reed, who plays Proximo in the movie, died during filming of Gladiator. When his character is introduced later on, we will definitely get more into what happened with all that, because it is a fascinating story. Maximus rubs his hands with dirt before each battle to trigger memories of a happier time in his life. I love that.
Yes.
I think that's beautiful.
Yep.
Apparently, Russell Crowe was difficult at times, wanting to rewrite the script, refusing to say the most famous line of the film, "My name is Maximus." But Ridley Scott was extremely patient with his lead, was able to finally convince to go along with what was needed. I heard, from what I read, Russell Crowe would often come to set wanting to completely rewrite the story almost every single day because he did not think that this was going to be a good movie.
Yeah. Yep. And so you got everything I got on facts. That's amazing.
Okay, I've got a couple more. I got two more, and then we'll see if you have anything that I don't have. I thought this one was very funny. If this is true, Russell Crowe and Richard Harris would take Joaquin Phoenix out to the bar to get him really drunk to loosen him up because he was extremely nervous for the role, and he was just then getting into his method acting he is so well known for now.
Oh, well, that makes sense in some of the scenes then. That I did not know.
Finally, Gladiator was nominated for 12 Academy Awards. It won 5 of those awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Costume Design, Best Sound, and Best Visual Effects.
Yep, that's amazing. Everything else, I got a couple, but it's just mainly history and locations. So, I mean, you hit everything on that spot on.
Which we can get into that stuff now if you want to, as we go through scene by scene, if you want to get into history and locations and stuff like that.
Well, the history that I have is just like, because my curiosity was, because I love the Roman Empire anyway. And I didn't know exactly whose but who historical figure was real in this and who wasn't. We know Maximus was a fictional character that drove this storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But Marcus Aurelius and Commodus, they were actually real Roman emperors.
Yes, Commodus was real.
Yep. And Marcus Aurelius, he was welcomed with the Senate and revered by the Roman Empire, and he was actually a loved Caesar. And Commodus, Joaquin Phoenix portrays him just like he was during the Roman Empire.
I thought that was interesting. I just always assumed that this entire story was fictional, but you are right. From what I read, there was a lot of history here too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from what I heard, there was a decent balance of what was considered fiction and what was considered real.
Yes.
With this movie.
Yes. As brutal as Commodus, well, Joaquin Phoenix portrays Commodus a little different than he actually was in real life. He was more aggressive than Joaquin Phoenix plays his character. And Commodus actually participated in the arena, in the Colosseum.
I think that's interesting because in this first scene, we have that moment where Commodus is such a Nepo baby, where he shows up. He's like, "Did we win the war?" He's like, "The war's over, son." "Oh, father, I should congratulate." "Don't congratulate me. Congratulate Maximus. He won the war." And I'll get into how I feel about him. I'm going to be very strong on how I feel about Commodus because I wanted to punch this dude in the face. I could not stand this character. So,
but that's why Joaquin was so good at the character that he was portraying.
It's probably fair.
But in real life, he was more brave. You know, he fought in, like I said, the Colosseum against animals. What I could find out, he never fought any human, only animals.
He's so slimy. He probably only fought like kittens. He seems like that kind of dude that would just like fight kittens and then say that he was victorious.
And the only other fact that I have that you didn't mention was during the tiger scenes toward the end. Yeah, a lot of it was CGI, but they actually had real tigers on set to make it. And you can see in the, because it is a 2000 movie, you can see where there's the CGI tiger and the actual real tiger right there in that Colosseum.
It's very obvious where it's at.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
So let's get into scene 1. I'll go over each scene by scene as I usually do, and then we will discuss each scene. So we'll start with scene 1. Maximus Decimus Meridius, played by Russell Crowe, leads the Roman army to victory against Germanic barbarians in the year 180 AD, ending a prolonged war and earning the esteem of elderly Emperor Marcus Aurelius, played by Richard Harris. Although the dying Aurelius has a son, Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix, he decides to appoint temporary leadership to the morally upstanding Maximus with a desire to eventually return power to the Roman Senate. Aurelius informs Maximus and offers him time to consider before informing Commodus, who, in a bout of jealousy, murders his father, declaring himself the emperor. Commodus asks Maximus for his loyalty, which Maximus, realizing Commodus's involvement in the emperor's death, refuses. Commodus orders Maximus' execution and dispatches guards to murder Maximus' wife and son. Maximus escapes his execution and races home only to discover his family has been murdered. He buries them and collapses on their graves.
Yes. Very hard scene. But I love one of Maximus' first lines. I think they got the message when the Roman soldier's riding back in on the horse and he's beheaded. Because his commander was like, do you think they got our message? And then you see the horse coming in with no head. The soldier has no head. And he's like, yeah, I think they got our message.
It's a good scene. I like how this movie starts where it's been, I believe Maximus says to Marcus, he's like, we've been at war now for almost 2 years or something like that. Like, he's been at this for such a long time. And we know that he misses his family so much that they've been at this war. All he wants to do is go home. One of the first things I noticed as soon as this movie started was when Maximus is walking up to his people, his soldiers are smiling at him. They're saying, hello, General. Hi, General.
Yep.
These people, and it's not said, but these soldiers, I think, have so much loyalty towards Maximus, and there is an instant love there. Like, just from the smiles that they were giving him, that they have trusted this man for a long time. He's probably done really right by them. That's one of the big highlights of this movie. There are many moments in this where things are shown through actions and not just telling you, and you get so much history out of that.
Yep. And just the fight with the barbarians, I don't even know how to explain it. Just Russell Crowe playing Maximus, just standing there, just looking out at his people falling, and has a sense of this has got to stop, and just the victor. And the next scenes, he's asked how long has he been fighting with me. I think it was like 4 years.
4 years, okay.
Yeah.
I love that one moment. I believe the soldier's name is Orpheus or Othrius. I can't remember, but he's standing there. He's like, people should know when they're conquered. And Maximus says, would you?
Yep.
It's like we're taking these people over for the glory of the Roman Empire. Not everyone knows why you're fighting in this war, because the way that we see it, these barbarians are shown as very vicious. They've just beheaded a Roman soldier. We don't really know their full story. Like, were they just minding their own business? And then Marcus Aurelius and his soldiers came through to add more to the Roman Empire. The Romans are shown as, these are supposed to be our heroes. Maximus is supposed to be our hero, but are there any real heroes in a war, especially like this?
Especially with the Roman Empire. Because, I mean, from what I understand, if you go into the history, it was all about just conquering. Just I want this land, and it's going to be my land, and I'm going to send my soldiers to conquer this. This is going to be for Caesar. So,
and I think that's what it was, and I think part of that plays into maybe why Maximus was so tired. I mean, obviously we know he missed his family, but was all this, has it been really worth it? I mean, he's a soldier, so maybe he's trained into believing in the glory of Rome, and it's all he knows. But I feel like part of Maximus feels like this isn't completely worth it.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I don't think he felt like it was his war, because the character Maximus is from Spain, and
that's true. They could call him the Spaniard.
Exactly, and I think he tells Aurelius that no, it was Commodus. I can't remember which. He tells him, "I've never even been to Rome."
That's right.
So he's fighting for something he's never even seen for 4 years. So he's just doing it now because it's just a principle now. Because he knows if he's not going to do it, he's not going to be able to go home. So he's going to give Caesar what Caesar needs, so he can win his way back home.
So basically what you're saying is that Maximus believes that war, what is it good for? Probably absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
Hoo-ha. So another fact that I thought was interesting, did you know that they really did burn down that forest?
No.
That was an actual fire.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so they were actually, the scenes that you saw where you saw fire showering down on those trees, apparently that was already a dead forest. They were going to be using that landscaping for something else. I don't really remember, but those were actual just fire catapults that they launched at those trees. So that was all visually real right there.
That's awesome.
And you can kind of tell too, like that's not CGI on those trees.
No, I thought it was just a stage.
So they really did burn that down.
That's it.
Yeah. I will say, I think one of my first complaints about the movie during that first battle against the barbarians, I'm not a big fan. I think a lot of movies in the late 90s and early 2000s did this, but did you notice that sometimes during like the fight scenes or when the soldiers would come down on horses, it was like that choppy slow motion?
Yeah.
I can't stand that.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me. And they do it a couple times in this movie, and it's never looked good to me.
No, and they thought it was cinematic, and it's really not.
No, it's not. No, the battle is won. They congratulate Maximus. They congratulate Marcus Aurelius, and Marcus comes up to him, and Marcus says to Maximus, "What can I give the general of Rome's empire?" He says, "Can I go home?" And then Marcus Aurelius says, home. It sounded like a conversation of a worker asking a manager, "Can I please leave? I'm ready to go home now." And he's like, home. Well, you could go home, or I could use you for a couple more hours since I have you here.
Yeah.
And he's just so tired. Maximus is so tired at this point that he just wants to finally go home.
Yep. I'm with you on that. Because even though he's a high-ranking officer, he's won all these battles, you could just tell Maximus is just exhausted.
Yeah.
Just, oh, man. And he tells Commodus, he says, "Going home." And Commodus says, "Will you fight for me as you fight for my father?"
He basically says, "I'm done." And Commodus says, "Don't go too far because I might need you."
Exactly.
So, like, his work is truly never, ever done.
Yep.
And that's when Commodus and his sister Lucilla,
yes,
Lucilla, I believe is how you say it, they show up, and that's when very pompous Commodus shows up. He's like, "Is the war over, father? Sweet daddy, is the war over?" And Marcus Aurelius is like, "I can't believe this dude's my son." Like, this is like, I don't think anybody really truly likes him.
No, no, that he played that character really well in that very first scene to know he's just a pompous, weak-ass son.
He's not great. There's even that great line that Marcus Aurelius has with his daughter Lucilla, where it says, "If only you'd been born a man, what a Caesar you would have made."
Yep, that's when he's walking. Can we just pretend, that you're my daughter and I'm a good father?
Once again, showing that there's so much history between all these characters that you don't see, but I think this is where the acting is the strongest. I'm a big believer in show, don't tell, and you can kind of see that in a lot of their acting. I think a great scene is when you can tell right away that there is history between Maximus and Lucilla when they're talking outside about, oh, you have a son, I have a son too. They kind of talk about their history together. Like there was something there a long time ago before he ever met his wife.
Yeah, and that kind of gets introduced a little more in Gladiator 2, if anybody's watched that.
Which I have not yet. Maybe one day we might cover that as well too. So okay, sounds like you got a lot to say on that, like way later down the road.
Yeah.
So I'll speed up a little bit. War is won. They have their celebrations. People ask Maximus, like, "Oh, you make a great politician." Maximus is like, "I don't want any part of this shit, guys. Like, don't talk to me about it." Commodus tries to recruit him too, and all that. Then Marcus Aurelius and Maximus have a conversation. I think I'm kind of like reversing stuff here, but Marcus and Maximus have a conversation where Marcus asks Maximus, "Tell me about your home." And right away, without even missing a beat, Maximus describes in such grand, rich detail about his home, what it looks like in the seasons, about his wife and his son, truly showing that this is all this man has thought about since he's been on the battlefield. He describes his home in a way that I don't think most people honestly could. And just like, "Oh, when was the last time you were home?" "Oh, about a day ago." "Well, tell me about your home." There's no way they could go into such rich detail as he does, really showing he longs for it so much.
I mean, he went into so much detail. He's even recounting the smell. I mean, the smell. I can't tell you. I left my house 2 hours ago, and I don't even remember what my house smells like right now. I got to smell good laundry and some good stuff outside. So to tell you what my house is just 2 hours ago, and he's just in such detail.
Apparently that was Russell Crowe actually describing his real life house.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, honestly, what would he say? Rosemary? I can't remember exactly the smell that he said, but I'm like, man, yeah, you're right. That detail is insane.
One of the first real heartbreaking scenes for me, and I didn't really catch this the first time I watched it, but on the second watch, I caught the line where Marcus asked Maximus, "Will you go to Rome for me? Will you go and be Caesar for me?"
Yeah.
And Maximus says, "With all of my heart, no."
But that's why I want you.
My God, that line right there, I could feel the anguish in his voice when he said that. Once again, showing how tired this man is. He's ready to go home.
Yep. But that's why Aurelius wanted him so much, because Maximus didn't want the power.
He was not a politician.
And he would have made a great Caesar because of that. He would have worked with Rome. And yeah, I couldn't do it either.
No, I don't think he could either. So that goes through. Then they go to the little celebration party. People talk to Maximus. And then it goes into when when Marcus confronts Commodus about, "Hey, you're not going to be Caesar because I think you're kind of a whiny little bitch. Maximus is going to be Caesar." And Commodus is like, "Oh, how dare you?" And Marcus is like, "You don't like my answer." And they go into it. "I'm sorry, I failed you as a father. Like, this is my fault. Maybe if I raised you better." And that's when Commodus smothers his own father in grief.
I mean, to the point where Aurelius, he gets to his knees
and pleads with him.
I'm like, man, and for a son that you could really tell he didn't want there to begin with. I mean, Maximus was what he wanted as a son. And I do believe Commodus actually mentions that, that, I'm sorry that I couldn't be that son you wanted. And he goes into that letter that Aurelius sent him and telling him I can't remember exactly which things they were, but what makes a leader, what makes a man, fortitude, respect, honor. And he says, well, I might not be able to fight, but I am smart and I can fight for what I need to fight for. And Aurelius is just like, yeah, I can't do this,
And I think because he knew how his son was, that his son wanted the power and Maximus did not, that made his decision so easy that if my son gets power as Caesar, he will use that to his advantage in the worst ways possible.
Yes.
So moving on, Maximus wakes up. He hears that the Caesar has been killed or died in his sleep. And right away, I think Maximus knows that there was treachery, that Commodus may have done this. Commodus asking, will you come to Rome with me? Will you fight with me? Maximus says, no, like, I'm going home. Commodus sees that as an insult. He tells them, well, I'm sending soldiers to kill your wife and your son, and I'm taking you out to be executed. Takes them out. Great scene. They tell him to kneel. The soldiers come after him. They try to take him down. He messes them up bad. Kills. I think he kills some of them. I don't remember if he kills all of them. No, wait, he does kill all of them. And then he takes off to make it back to his home, however long that is. How long do you think it took him to get there?
Well, I actually looked that up, so I'm so glad you asked.
I'm very curious.
When Maximus leaves, after he kills all the soldiers, he had to travel 1,650 miles home from where he was fixing to be put to death.
On 2 horses. I wonder how long that actually takes.
2 horses. The journey would have taken 3 weeks.
3
weeks, because he's traveling from the fictional Vindobana, I suck at pronouncing words, which is modern day Vienna, to Tagaheum, however you say that, which is modern day Torojo, Spain, where Maximus was from. So 1,650 miles, 3 weeks.
That's awesome. That's so awesome that you looked that up. The movie makes it look like it only took 2 days for him to get there.
Yep.
And that man took 2 horses to make it all the way back there. What I find interesting and funny is that when Commodus sent those men out to execute Maximus and they didn't show back up, what was Commodus thinking? Did you think about that?
I didn't think about that because later on he's talking to his sister and he mentions that they all lied to him, that they told him Maximus was dead.
But who was left to tell because he killed all the soldiers that were out there.
Yep. And then during that scene, that's one of my favorite scenes, is Maximus tells that Roman soldier that in the winter and the frost, your metal's going to stick to your sheath. And that's how he was able to kill that last soldier, because he couldn't get his sword out.
That was a great moment.
Yeah.
I love that one slash he does it across that one soldier's face where it's the helmet down like that.
Yep.
So I gotta wonder if Commodus went into like some random soldier. He's like, hey, did those guys come back that I told them to execute Maximus? He's like, huh? I guess so. I just got here. He's like, okay, well, carry on, soldier.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah.
So Maximus makes it back home and finds the body of his wife and his son that they've been hung and burnt, right?
Crucified.
That's right.
Crucified and burnt.
Yes. And after that traveling that he took, that you said took that long, he makes it all the way back to his home, completely exhausted, takes them down, buries them, and falls down completely tired, just completely exhausted. What a trip to make it all the way back home just to find your wife and your son hanging there.
Right. And that scene, there's still smoke. So it was just a matter of hours, maybe days. There was still smoke. So it had been recent.
How did you feel about that scene when the son gets trampled by the horse? Some people say that scene's funny because of how it goes down.
We can discuss that when we get to our least favorite scenes.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I already know what's happening there. All right, scene 2. Slave traders find Maximus and take him to Succabar, a rugged province in North Africa, when he is purchased by Proximo, played by Oliver Reed, the head of a local gladiator school. Maximus initially refuses to fight, but as he defends himself in the arena, his formidable combat skills lead to a rise in popularity with the audience. As he trains and fights further, Maximus befriends Hagen, played by Ralph Moeller, a barbarian, and Juba, played by Jamon Hanso, a hunter. So this is when we are introduced to probably one of my favorite characters, Proximo, played by Oliver Reed. Right away, this man possesses such an aura to him that I don't think can be ignored. And this is where, before we get into more of scene 2, I kind of want to tell you about Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed was hired on to play the gladiator turned slave master, and Oliver Reed says, I will do this movie, but on one condition. At 5 o'clock every day, I am done. You let me do what I want to do. He would go to shows, he would go to the bar, but that was his deal with Ridley Scott. Let me do what I want to do at 5 o'clock. That's it.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and he died during the making of this movie.
Yes. Yeah, because it actually was supposed to have had a different ending with him.
They were supposed to fight in the arena together, and there were scenes too where they said that he was imposed in the movie, that he wasn't really there, that they used different like scenes. I didn't really see that.
No, if they did, that was flawless.
I never noticed that. I want to tell you how Oliver Reed died. Do you
go ahead?
Okay. Oliver Reed died during a break from shooting Gladiator after winning a drinking match with British sailors. He drank 8 pints of German lager, a dozen shots of rum, half a bottle of whiskey, and a few shots of Hennessy, and beat 5 young sailors at arm wrestling before collapsing and having a heart attack.
That's a Friday night when I get drunk and get naked.
Can you think of a more badass way for a dude to go out?
No.
That is insane. This man was a powerhouse, and he went out exactly how he wanted to.
Yeah, that's straight up, man. That's a man's death right there.
I think he was, I don't look this up, but I think he was in his late 60s, early 70s when all this went down.
God, I wouldn't be standing over half of what he did. There's no way.
This is like one of my favorite movie facts of all time. I think that is the most badass way to go out. Like truly, Oliver Reed was like a man's man.
I knew some of that. I didn't know that extent.
Yeah.
Golly.
The other guy that you might recognize is Jamon Hanso. He was the African American actor that played Juba. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
He was in the movie Never Back Down, Captain Marvel, Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Don't know that one.
Pretty good movie. We might have to cover that one day. But I always enjoy seeing him in anything. And I really enjoy when they're in the gladiator school and they're all training and Maximus just refuses to fight, which kind of got me thinking, when he was refusing to fight, I'm like, oh, well, he's acting like he's completely given up here already. Like he doesn't want to fight. Like he doesn't have, maybe because he was still so tired that he didn't have the energy. Like I thought he was like, well, maybe he wants to already die. But as it goes on, I think he kind of gets the motivation back that he still does have something to fight for, because I think that fuel of revenge starts to kind of flow through his veins for Commodus.
Yes, 100%. Because in the beginning, I do feel like he's just lost his son, he just lost his wife, he lost all of his land, and now he's brought back to fight for somebody else, not just for himself. And he, like you said, he's just ready to go. But once he finds out they're going to Rome and he can be in front of the emperor, which he knows now is Commodus, he's like, now he has a reason to do this. And that's where later on he says, yeah, I want to stand before the emperor. I want to stand before this Caesar.
I think what I'm about to say comes into scene 3, but I'll go and say it, is that when the 2 first like small battles go on and they start seeing how good Maximus is, they start calling him the Spaniard. That's when Proximo finds out that Commodus is going to be holding 150 days of games in the Colosseum again. And Proximo talks about the glory of when he was a gladiator, and that little speech he gives about the crowd and how invigorating it is that it rises and rises like the god of thunder. Like he's a showman first.
Yes.
And he talks about that. And I love that scene of how entertaining and how animated Proximo is, and just the way that Maximus is so stoic during that scene. They're talking and Maximus says, "You were a gladiator." And Proximo was like, "Yes." He's like, I was a gladiator. And he talks about the wooden sword that I believe it was Marcus Aurelius gave him, the wooden sword of freedom.
Correct.
He's like, he touched my arm. And just, he's getting so giddy. And all when Maximus goes, "You knew Marcus Aurelius?" I didn't say I knew him.
Yep.
He gets so sassy with it. Like, I didn't say I knew him. I just...
Yep. I love that. And that's when he finds out that they're going to go to Rome. And that's when he gets that fight back.
That's when he gets that fight back. And the way that Proximo talks about being a gladiator, I do wish that Oliver Reed could have finished the movie, because I would have, even in his old age, I believe that he still would have given Maximus probably a pretty good fight.
Anybody that can drink that much could definitely give somebody a big fight.
Yeah. So so that's a big what if, is how would have that story turned out at the end, because would have Maximus wanted to fight Proximo? Because I think there was a bit of a friendship building between those two characters for the little bit of scenes that they got. When I think Proximo would have fought as hard as he could to kind of get that glory back. There's a bunch of different ways that probably could have gone if they were able to fight each other.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. Because and you got to think too. Yeah, I think they both respected each other, because Maximus was bringing him money. That was the biggest thing, and that's later scenes that he actually talks about that whenever he's trying to get his freedom. It's like, you're bringing me all this money, how am I going to let you go? But yeah, there's a lot of respect for each one of them. And I don't think it was Maximus didn't care if he was going to let him down kind of relationship.
No, I don't think so.
Like you said a second ago, when he said you were a gladiator, and seeing this man in his old age and being able to win his freedom, and the way he talked about, you win the crowd, you win your freedom.
I think it became not so much friends, but more respect.
Yes.
A former fighter, former gladiator.
Yes.
There.
And be such a fighter to stand in front of Aurelius and be freed.
I think so.
Because back then, the chances of you even getting that far, most of them died the first time they entered the Colosseum. And to fight for so long to win your freedom, yeah, straight up respect.
That's kind of what Proximo says when he first buys them, is that he says, "For the next 2 days, I'll be closer to you than your bitchless mother ever was. And you will die to the sound of clapping." And he goes, "Pop, pop, 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 pop." And yeah, those guys lasted a lot. Most of them lasted a lot longer than I thought they did. What did you think of that first fight where they were chained to each other?
I liked it because you get to see the bond now of Maximus and him having each other's back.
Yes.
And different type of gladiators. Because you go over to the giant that's been with him for a while, he just slashes off
that dude's hand.
And uses it as a freaking whip. So you see different types of fighters, and what's the word I'm looking for? How Maximus is like, I'm going to defend you, you defend me, and we're just going to look at and they just looked at each other. And it's like you said earlier, it's not about the commentary that they go back and forth. They just look at each other and know, okay, follow me and I'll follow you.
Right.
And it's just that scene and just that choreography it was awesome to me.
I love that one scene where Juba and Maximus are working so well together, where Maximus is in front with his two swords and Juba is standing over him with his back, kind of guarding his backside.
Yes.
So like right away, they work so well together, chained up. And like, you're right, that's where I think Juba is first to know. He's first to learn. He's like, I can trust Maximus. And as we go on into that first big Colosseum fight, they all start to trust Maximus.
Yes.
And one thing I really liked about the second fight at the small arena is at the very end when Maximus is fighting against that one big gladiator. He slices off his head with the two swords, and he just throws that sword into the top, and he uses that great line, "Are you not entertained?" And they're like, and everyone's like, "This dude is awesome. This is pretty cool."
I was entertained. That's,
oh yeah,
dang sure.
Which speaking of entertained, now Chris, if you and I were alive during the Roman Empire, would you go to the Colosseum to watch these fights as if it was a sports show?
Honestly, yes.
Because think about it, everyone's going there. These battles probably start about, I don't know, mid-morning, maybe evening time. People are getting drunk off of wine. We're going to party and watch a bunch of dudes either fight each other or fight against lions. I bet these Colosseum parties were insane.
Oh, they had to be. Yeah, I would 100% been there. I mean, my favorite sport is bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah.
And UFC, I mean, I love it. I mean, that's what.
We're both huge fans of World Strongman, too.
Yes.
We love that shit.
So, yeah, 100% I would have been there.
Colin seeing, like, imagine that being on ESPN now.
Oh, man.
As demented as twisted as it would sound, everybody would watch that. Well, that's who we are. All right, ready to move on to scene 3?
Yeah.
All right. In Rome, Commodus reopens the gladiatorial games to commemorate his father's death, and Proximo's company of gladiators are hired to participate. In a recreation of the Battle of Zama at the Colosseum, Maximus leads Proximo's gladiators to victory against a more powerful force. Much to the amazement of the crowd, Commodus descends into the arena to meet the victors and is stunned to discover Maximus as the leader of Proximo's gladiators. The Emperor, unable to kill Maximus because of the crowd's roaring approval for him, sulks out of the arena.
There's a lot to actually dive into that scene, because as they're going up before they open the gate for the gladiators, they were told, do not turn your back on the Emperor. And
well, it was like, that was like one of the biggest signs of insults.
Yes, it's huge disrespect. And Maximus put on that helmet and walks out there, and then Commodus, he's already won Commodus in just that one battle, because it was supposed to have been the battle where Rome beat the barbarians.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gladiators just cremate the Roman soldiers. And that's when he comes down. And
I do like that one scene where Commodus, he's like, remind me, my history's a little fuzzy, but this isn't how this is supposed to go. He's like, no, sir, I am sorry. He's like, no, it's fine. I like surprises. I like to go down there and,
Yep. And at this point, the young man, the kid, was his name?
Lucilla's son?
Lucius, yes. Her son had already met Maximus in the cells, because he approaches him and Maximus tells him about the horses on his chest.
Yeah, because there was already rumors about the Spaniard.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, because I don't think they had their first. Yeah, because that's when he says like who he's the son of.
Correct.
And I swear to you, right there, I thought Maximus was about to reach out and grab and like start choking.
Yep, Lucius is furious.
Lucius, that was Lucius.
And when Commodus came down there, Maximus had that broken arrow in his hand. And if
he was ready,
Lucius hadn't have been there, Maximus would have lost his life right there, because he would have just went ahead and stabbed him immediately. I think
so too.
Because that's the only reason why he wanted to be in the Colosseum to begin with.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think that's when he started changing his tone about not wanting to fight, is that when he realized that there was a chance to get back to Rome, to the Colosseum, that was his one and only chance to take down Commodus.
Yep.
I think this first big fight in the Colosseum is easily one of the best scenes of the whole movie. I think this action is excellent. I love the cinematography here. I love this. As soon as this scene starts, everyone is already pretty much listening to Maximus. He said, who here was a soldier? He's like, I was. Guys to the left of him says, I once fought with you.
Yep.
And so right away, everyone knows that this is the guy that we need to listen to, and we might just make it out of this.
Exactly.
And the way that Maximus commands them of when to hold up their shields, what formations to get into. I love the battle strategy in this.
Hold. Yeah. And like you said, the cinematography,
cinematography.
However you say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of just the chariots hitting them shields and just crashing. It's just, oh my gosh, they did so good. Especially for 2000, early 2000. I mean, that's been 25 years.
25 years now.
And the way it looks on film still holds up. It's amazing.
So there are some moments during this fight where there are some Easter eggs. Did you notice any of those?
Some of them.
The biggest one for me was when the one chariot flips over, you can see the gas tank attached. There's that one. There's another one where I didn't notice this until I was looking up trivia, and I went back to find it, but there's 2 shots during either this Colosseum fight or the next one where you can see 2 cameramen just in the crowd of the Romans. Yeah, so there's that one too. But I think, one of the biggest ones is definitely the gas tank on the back of the chariot. And there's another one earlier where it shows the scene of the son running down the entranceway in the back in the field. You can see tractor tire marks.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. There's that one too. I thought that was. It's always. I love Easter eggs. One of my favorite ones is when you find them in period movies. It's kind of like. Do you remember? I think they've taken it out through I think they've digitized it out since then. But there was that funny scene at the last season of Game of Thrones where there was the Starbucks coffee cup on the table. So stuff like that I think is really, really funny.
So I've never seen the ending of Game of Thrones.
Oh, so
I can never get past the first season.
I'm shocked by that because it seems like a show that'd be right up your alley.
Yeah. Now I've watched a lot of Outlander. I love Outlander. And I love Game of Thrones. I love the first season. I don't know. And I want to because I'll watch clips all the time on Facebook and everything. But
if I explained to you that if I explained to you that Game of Thrones is when Lord of the Rings meets Girls Gone Wild.
Oh yeah.
Does that help?
It does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
So continue on with this great Colosseum fight. I love that shot of when the chariot's coming through and the one soldier that fell off, she gets sliced in half. That's such a badass scene.
Oh, man. Yeah. And I didn't see anything. I was looking for chariots like that to see if that was actually period or not. I couldn't find anything if they had them on there because all I could think of is your modern day spinners on these big trucks.
Yeah, right.
You'd be going
on similar
the highway and you see these spikes sitting out of these 18-wheelers and I'm like, man. But I couldn't find anything period on that. I wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. I mean, it makes sense for war. So
yeah, no, that sure it does. No, the gladiators win the fight. Commodus becomes very intrigued by the leader of the gladiators. He comes down and he asks, "Soldier, remove your helmet. Remove your helmet. How dare you turn your back on me?" And there's a moment where Maximus thinks, he's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm probably going to jeopardize my entire revenge plan. Screw it. I need him to know that this is me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Maximus turns around and he says, "My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the north, general of Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next."
Yeah, that.
Easily probably one of the most famous quotes of any movie. It's got to be like in the top 10, top 20 at least.
Easily. And just Russell Crowe's voice, he delivers it with so much power. Like, this character is meaning what he is saying. You feel it. It's good.
It was either this or another line, but apparently Russell Crowe did not want to give that speech at first. He did not think it was a good little line to say.
I do remember reading something on that, but I don't remember which one it is either. So yeah.
Again, Russell Crowe apparently had a lot of issues with some of the stuff said in this movie, and I hope he can look back on this now and say, you know what? I'm kind of glad that I listened to Ridley Scott. I love, again, how just pompous and just how I think Commodus feels so embarrassed by how this went down. Maximus is not dead. We know that is someone that Commodus already finds to be a very threatening and intimidating man. Made him look like a fool out there in the Colosseum.
Yes, he did.
And we know that Commodus gets really bitchy at the fact. He's like, well, now I can't kill him. They love him so much. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, stop whining, dude.
Yep.
God, I cannot stand it. Like, that's all he does is whine and whine and whine. Constantly like trying to whine to his sister, who he wants to get with, by the way. I'll go into that later too. No, just the character. Is there anything else you want to say about the Colosseum fights or during the scene?
Oh, I think that covers everything.
All right. Moving on to scene 4. As the games continue, Commodus pits Maximus against an undefeated gladiator in an arena surrounded by chained tigers with handlers instructed to target Maximus. Following an intense battle, Maximus narrowly defeats gladiator Tigress and awaits Commodus' decisions to kill or spare Tigress. As Commodus votes for death, Maximus spares Tigress, deliberately insulting the emperor and gathering the audience's approval. His bitter enemy, now known as Maximus the Merciful.
Yes.
I think I like the first Colosseum fight a little bit better than this one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is still really good. I do find it interesting that I use actual tigers, but I think it is a little sore in the eyes that you can really tell where the tigers were kind of like placed in, like during like post-production and stuff like that. Like it doesn't look fantastic to me.
No, because there's one scene where Maximus is standing out. He's the only one standing in the Colosseum, and it's panned way back, and one of the tigers is just laying there on the sand, like, pet me, pet me. And you see the guy that's supposed to be holding the chain on the tire just kneeling there, like, what am I supposed to do now?
I don't think it's cut very well. I do think this is a pretty good fight against Maximus and Tigress, and Commodus is throwing everything to make this a very hard fight on Maximus, because he's like, well, if I can't just kill him myself, then maybe I can somehow kill him in the Colosseum if I put everything against him.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like Commodus does not realize just how amazing of a fighter and strategist Maximus really is, even against someone like Tigress, who has been completely undefeated.
And he didn't, because, he told his sister, he says, I've made it. I forget the exact line he used, but he's like, I made it to where he's not going to come out of this. And he came out of this.
He did. And Commodus' sister is like, can you stop, please? Like, 1, you make me uncomfortable. 2, you're being a little bitch boy. 3, I find you extremely annoying. Like, I'm surprised that she didn't just end up killing him herself at some point.
Yeah.
But I guess at that point, like, even she knew, was like, well, if he is Caesar now, he is kind of untouchable. So I can't really attack my own brother, though I know for a fact that she really wanted to do that.
And I think if it could have went other ways, she would have eventually been able to kill him, but the uprising had to start first. Maximus would have had to been able to get away to get his army, and then I think it would have either been Maximus that would have gave Commodus the sword, or Commodus' sister would have been the one. I would have loved to have been able to see that. And that's something similar to that scene is in Gladiator 2, where that kind of takedown happens. And I think they understand that, because like you and me, we would have loved to seen his sister just...
Probably so.
Okay.
Chris, you and I, we're big guys. We enjoy to work out. We lift weights. I don't want to get twisted. We're not super muscled up guys, but we like to lift weights. We are big fans of World Strongman, and that's kind of what we like to strive for. How did you think you would do in the Colosseum as a gladiator?
It'd probably last about 5 seconds, honestly.
Yeah.
Fist on fist, maybe a little longer. But me personally, when it comes to pain, I can't say that word. I'm a baby. I use the word baby instead of the other. I hate pain. My dog scratches my arm. I'm like, ow.
Yeah.
yeah, I can lift, and I could do things that probably I shouldn't be able to do, but pain, nah. I got cut on the arm or something like that, I'd just lay down and just say, stab me. I would not have lasted.
I think I have a little more confidence if I was pretty armored up pretty well, and I think my weapons of choice would be sword and shield.
I would probably went with a mace or
okay.
The ball on the chain.
Oh yeah, I assume the name of that thing. It's not a Morning Star. Morning Star is the one that's just like the club type.
Correct.
Thing. I think it is called mace, the one on the chain.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to keep my distance because I don't want to get hit.
Sword and shield feels nice, but if not that, I'd probably go maybe spear. Because spear would give you
spear would work.
Spear would give you some good distance.
Yes.
Right there. No, I'm with you. I think I would last maybe 4 or 5 seconds. It's funny because my pain tolerance is like yours. Like I don't like pain. Funny, we're both covered. We both have tattoos.
That don't hurt.
Tattoo pain is a completely different thing than getting stabbed by a sword. But yeah, no, I think I would end up being like the guy during the first fight that pees himself.
Oh yeah.
When Maximus steps back.
I forgot about him.
So I don't. Yeah, no. As a gladiator, I think my gladiator glory would last 3.5 seconds, and I think I would be done.
Oh, 100%. I definitely wouldn't be no Maximus.
All right, let's move on to scene 5. Following the fight, Maximus meets his former servant, Cicero, played by Tommy Flanagan, who reveals that Maximus' army remained loyal to him. They are camped at the Port Ostia. Maximus forms a plot with Lucilla, played by Connie Nielsen, Commodus' sister, and Senator Grassus. I cannot pronounce his name. I think Grassus. Sorry. Senator Grassus, played by Derek Jacobi, to reunite Maximus with his army and overthrow Commodus. Commodus, however, suspecting his sister's betrayal, threatens her young son and forces her to reveal the plot. Guards immediately storm Proximo's barracks while Maximus escapes. Hagen and Proximo are killed in the siege while Juba and the survivors are in prison. Maximus escapes to the city walls only to witness Cicero's death and be ambushed by a legion of guards.
Lot breakdown on that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
Some of these scenes definitely take longer to get through because it's like, oh, they fight here, and there's other scenes where it's nothing but talking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of the talking scenes, I felt like this is kind of dragging on a little too long for me. Where like, I don't know, like certain areas I kind of started to like lose interest a little bit. And
I can see that.
And in other scenes, I'm like, okay, well, we're getting some pretty interesting information here too.
And one of my favorite scenes in that scene is when Commodus has Lucius and he's sitting beside him, and she comes up.
He's reading the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is where you know how twisted Commodus really is. Speaking of his history and being able to twist his sister to tell him everything just by her son sitting beside him.
It is a very uncomfortable scene.
Yes.
And it shows like, man, I do not like this character, but Joaquin Phoenix is killing it right now. Joaquin Phoenix, again, like I said earlier, if the facts are true, this is when he was first really starting to do like some method acting. So I would be curious of how much into the history of Commodus that he was able to look into and how he played the character, because to the son, what's the son's name again?
Lucius.
To Lucius, this is just a good time with his uncle. They're reading stories. Mm-hmm. He thinks the stories are fun, but there's so much it's so sinister, especially through the mother's eyes, through Lucilla's eyes. She knows that Commodus is doing this to basically make her uncomfortable and to show her that, yeah, he may be your son, but don't forget who Caesar is. I have so much power.
Yeah.
And I don't think you truly realize how threatening I can be.
And it was Lucius, it was his fault that plan failed, because when Commodus asked him, what you doing? He says, I'm a gladiator. And he says, well, who are you? He says, I'm Maximus, the savior of Rome.
And the Commodus says, yeah, go ahead.
Who told you that?
Dude, how dare you? Coach was like, hold up a second. So I'm like, this little boy is about to get thrown off that balcony. So what's about to happen?
Fixing the bitch slap this kid.
Either that, or knowing how common this has been acting through this whole movie, is that he was about to run to his guards, cried, he said that Maximus was the ruler and the savior. That's me. Just snot bubble. And even the guards would have been like, I'm so tired of this dude. I miss Marcus Aurelius so much.
And they actually would have, because like I said, Aurelius ruled very well from what I read, and Commodus ruled horribly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The reason why Marcus Aurelius was such a good ruler is that he was such a sweet man, because he was so good to the kids at Hogwarts.
Exactly. Yeah, we never touched on that, Vin Dumbledore.
We didn't know he played Dumbledore for the first two movies, and I never made the connection because I think I completely forgot about Richard Harris. But as soon as you hear his voice as Marcus Aurelius in this, I'm like, there's that sweet, soft tone that he had in the first two Harry Potter movies. Like you can really hear it. I think I like the actor that plays Dumbledore as the movies go on. He has such a tone and command to the scene. I don't remember the actor's name right now, but you best believe we will be covering the Harry Potter films at some point, and we'll talk about that down the road.
I don't know if I can 100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
and maybe because it's a different.
It's completely two different Dumbledores.
And that needed to be, though, because of how that story progressed. And the funny thing about with Richard Harris playing Aurelius, when we first see him, I didn't recognize him. And Tracy, my wife, she says, "Is that Dumbledore?" I'm like, "I don't think so." And then he speaks. I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right. That's Dumbledore."
That's cool that she could notice that was him, because without the long beard, you didn't really know at first.
Yes, that is. And then of course I geeked out.
No, of course. Maximus, he reunites with his servant Cicero.
Yeah.
Did you recognize Tommy Flanagan, because he's been in a lot of stuff?
Yes, him and Maximus' friends Roy actually noticed them before I did, which I was really surprised.
Tommy Flanagan is another one of a favorite actor of mine. Another actor that's always been, hey, it's that guy actor. Now he had a great big part in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, yes,
great.
That's where Roy recognized him, because Roy loves.
Yeah, one of my favorite shows. We played a character named Chibs. He's been in Sin City. He's been in a ton of stuff. Do you know the story behind how he got those scars? Mm-hmm. Those are real.
Oh, no, I don't know that.
Yeah, so the story goes that he was at a bar one night, and when he was younger, and I believe he was DJing at a bar, and got into a tussle with some guys, and they decided to give him what is known as a Cheshire smile, and slice here and slice here.
Joker.
Kinda. Yeah, and that's what gave him that smile. And I believe Tommy Flanagan has said because of those scars, it's actually gotten him more work as an actor, because people find those scars to be like so interesting on somebody's face.
I can see that. Makes sense.
There might be more detail to it, but yeah, outside of a club or a bar, got into it with some guys, sliced them on both sides of his cheek.
Oh my gosh!
So
no, I did not know that.
Oh man, and his death definitely got me too. Where then they play the scene very well, where Maximus is running through the corridors, and he comes out and he sees him on a horse. He was like, "Oh hey, what's up, man? I'm so glad you're on this horse so we can get out of here." He's like, "Maximus," and just gets hung. Maximus tries to lift him up, and out of nowhere, like 3 arrows like right into his chest. I'm like, well, there goes somebody else that he probably felt very, very close to as well.
Yeah, because and I don't know if he came. I think he came with him from Spain. I think he worked with him even then.
I think the way that it is meant to be shown, I think, is that he has been by his side for a very, very long time.
So he would have been very close. Very close.
see what else is there.
So we went over,
This is not one of those things where in scene 5, there's a lot. There's a lot of that.
That's a lot.
There's a lot that happens. Oh, another scene is when Lucilla is talking to Maximus when he's down, he's chained up. When they're speaking to each other and they're planning the plot and everything, I don't like the fact that she thought it would be okay to speak so closely to that other guard. Because no wonder Commons found out what your plan was, because you were talking right there with that guard, like only being maybe like 4 feet away from you.
Right.
So of course he heard everything that you were talking about. So I didn't like that. I don't know if I like the scene when they kiss each other.
No, I do not. Because I think that
did I feel dishonorable to his wife?
Yeah. Yes, and that's part of. I keep saying the sequel. That's part of why I hate the sequel, but that's another story. I think that was a betrayal, because the way Russell Crowe plays Maximus, he is sincerely dedicated to being back with his wife and child in the afterlife. And the Maximus that I've seen, to me, would not have kissed her. Not that way.
Probably not.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does, because I think you could easily use the saying here of too soon.
Yeah, too soon.
Because I don't know how much time passes between him finding his wife and son's body to going into slavery to the Colosseum. I don't know if that's like a various amount of like weeks to months at that time, but it all seems too quickly to me. On the other side of that, I think because Maximus knows that death is knocking on the door with him soon, that maybe one more kiss from someone that he used to love, it's probably an okay thing, but I don't know, the kiss just did not sit right with me. I get that there was once a flame there of love, but I didn't really care for that too much.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And for whoever sees part 2 and y'all do enjoy it, once again, these are just our reviews, the things that we liked and don't like. So, and that's what makes things so awesome in our lives, is we don't have to agree with everything. So if y'all do love 2, which I know most of y'all don't, forgive me.
I've only heard 2 people talk about Gladiator 2 so far. You and somebody from our work. He went to go see Gladiator 2 at theaters, and I asked him how it was. He gave me a pause, and he was like, "It was all right." Yeah. It's basically what he said.
Yeah.
All right. Final scene.
Final scenes.
All right. So Commodus personally challenges Maximus to a duel in front of a roaring audience, acknowledging that Maximus' skills exceeds his own. Commodus deliberately stabs Maximus with a stiletto, puncturing his lung. The 2 exchange blows before Maximus rips the sword from Commodus' hands. Commodus requests a sword from his guards, but they betray him and refuse to lend him their weapons. Maximus drops his own sword, but Commodus pulls the hidden stiletto and renews his attacks. Maximus beats Commodus into submission and kills him with his own stiletto. As Commodus falls in the now silent Colosseum, a dying Maximus begins seeing his wife and son in the afterlife. Maximus collapses and dies and wanders into the afterlife to his family in the distance. Senator Crassus and Proximo's gladiators carry his body out of the Colosseum. That night, a newly freed Juba buries Maximus, 2 small statues of his wife and son in the Colosseum. Strength and honor.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments, starting off with this scene, is I really like that exchange when Maximus is chained up and Commodus goes down there to speak with him.
Yeah.
And he says, my father loved you too, so I guess that makes us brothers. And the way that he speaks to him, it's just Commodus is so slimy. I just thought, man, when he stabs him in the chest, he says, cover it with his armor so nobody sees what I done. And I believe that's Orpheus. I believe that's the soldier's name. Orpheus is standing there, and you can even see on his face, he's like, this isn't honorable. Like, I know you're Caesar, and that's just like, that's the rule. I'm supposed to follow your command. But even he doesn't like this.
Yeah. And that actor, everything from him comes from his eyes, and you get that dishonorable look at Commodus just from his eyes. Once again, no words exchanged, just the cinematics of their facial acting alone, and that's just awesome.
Absolutely. There's that scene before all this goes down where after Maximus has been captured again and put back into prison, where Commodus is speaking to one of the politicians, I believe. It could have been Orpheus again. I honestly do not remember. But he's talking about how he's going to fight Maximus. And he has that really creepy scene with Lucilla where he talks about how you will give me a pure blood. And just the way he's like, am I not merciful? Am I not merciful? I just wanted to punch that dude right in the face. I could not stand him. Yeah, and I think other than the scene when he's with the son and he's reading the stories, I think that is Commodus probably at his most uncomfortable, the way that he's speaking to his sister. And again, there's so many scenes throughout the movie with the way that he's speaking or reacting to his sister. There's so many moments where he tries to go in for like a passionate kiss, or try to get her to lay with him in a way that brothers and sisters obviously should not lay with each other.
Because that's a few scenes back.
Yeah.
She's making him a tonic.
That's right.
And he asked her to kiss for a kiss. And she's like, no. Kiss me. No. Kiss me. No. And he lays down and falls asleep. So she put in that tonic.
Oh yeah, like she's like she put whatever the equivalent was of Z-Quil back in the day in that drink. She's like, I am so, and like she's probably, oh God, could you imagine? She's probably been dealing with that shit her entire
life
with him.
Yeah,
because the way, just looking at them, I think it's safe to assume that there might be like a couple of years difference between them. They might even be twins because they seem like they're very close in age. And he's like, you will love me as I have loved you. Yeah, such a threatening, so threatening and creepy to say to somebody, especially that's your sibling. And so that scene was just like, man, get some real Game of Thrones territory here. So I did not care for that, but I don't really care for most of those scenes. So, but I think this final fight, it's not as grand as I think people wanted it to be who were watching the movie. But maybe it wasn't meant to be, because once again, Commodus isn't really the fighter that Maximus is. And if Maximus had not been screwed over with that stab to the chest, this fight would have been over even quicker than it actually was.
It would have been me, that 3 to 5 seconds, and Commodus would have been on the ground. So
that moment when the lift is rising up and Commodus has his head held up high, like it's almost like the sense of like proudness that he has to himself, of like, well, this is already won. He's so into himself that he thinks the cheering that is coming from the Colosseum is for him. I think
until he hears the words Maximus.
Maximus, and just the look on his face, he's like, I don't know why they don't love me. And I think Russell Crowe plays this scene so well, where he comes like stumbling out and like he's trying to like hold his composure. Of course we know that he's been stabbed, lung is collapsing, and he's still fighting as well as he can, but there's staggerness and slow motions to his fight. And way earlier in the movie, we saw Commodus was training and practicing with a sword. But I don't think that really meant much to me, because one, those are his father's soldiers. They're not going to fully attack them. So I still don't believe that Commodus, he may have understood a little bit of swordplay, but nothing compared to the battle grit that Maximus has had for years.
No possible way. To technical aspect of, being able to dodge and swing and get out of the way, but yeah, not to the point Maximus fought. I mean, and you gotta think too, Maximus fought for his heart, for his wife, and for his son, for revenge. Commodus just fought for his own self pride, and you can't win on that.
No, Maximus had a belief in glory, strength, and honor. Commodus' belief was in me, capital M-E. It's all about me.
Yeah.
As that last fight continues, and they're kind of staggering around with each other, when it's Commodus, he loses his sword first. Yeah, he gets it knocked out of his hand, and that's when Maximus throws his sword down too. He's like, okay, this is how we're gonna fight. That's how we're gonna fight. And I think it is Commodus who asks for another sword from Orpheus. I have probably been saying that name wrong this entire time because I really do not remember.
I'm just glad you're saying the names and not me, because nope.
So whoever listens to this will probably give me some flack of what the character's name is. I think people know who I'm talking about, but I do apologize. I cannot remember right now. But Commodus asks for a sword, and the soldiers surround them, start to unsheath their swords. And Orpheus says, no, it's like, sheath your swords back. Because at this point, I think he's truly done with Commodus' slimy ways. And he realizes that he too has been so dishonorable towards Maximus that he says, no, like, you're going to fight this out as you should. You already have a huge handicap because you've pretty much already killed this man. But it's time to end this. And that's when Maximus starts just throwing some like haymakers on him, starts really punching him in the face. And I love that. I think I enjoyed that more than when they were fighting with swords, honestly.
Yeah. It was intense. I mean, we keep saying the same thing, but I mean, that's what it is. It's not the vocals. It's not the lines. It's just the choreography and the cinematics of doing what you have to do to get what your desire is.
At the end of this fight, we see that Commodus has one little sneaky attack up his sleeve and takes the stiletto, the little knife, and tries to stab Maximus. And that's when Maximus grabs his arm, stabs into his neck, and Commodus falls down. And thank goodness, that is the end of Commodus, and we never have to worry about that weird incest little gremlin ever again. Man. And I think towards the end of this movie is so beautiful and so strong, where Maximus is standing there like he is literally on death's doorsteps, and he sees the doors opening into the afterlife to come to his son and his wife, and he is called back to the realm of the living, saying Maximus. And Maximus gives the last lines of what Marcus Aurelius wanted and what is demanded to free the gladiators and to give voice back to Rome before he collapses over. And there's something so powerful about that scene of Maximus holding as much strength as he can muster to give that final message before he collapses.
Yes. And Quintus.
God, thank you so much. I've been saying the wrong name this entire time. Thank you so much for saying that. Quintus speaks to him saying, Maximus, what shall be done? Quintus. Thank you for looking that up. So.
Yeah. And then he just falls back.
Falls back. Lucilla runs to him, tells him that her son is safe and that you can go home now. And that beautiful music starts playing, and he passes. He moves on to the afterlife, and I think this is the best acting that Russell Crowe does for the movie, because the way that his face turns from when he sees the doors opening to the afterlife, he's smiling, and then when he's called back, he becomes stoic again. He's like, oh, come on, man. Like, I'm so ready to go. And then when he finally closes his eyes, Lucilla sees the smile on his face, knowing that he's back where he's been trying to get to this entire time.
Yes.
And they step out and they say, who will help me carry this man?
I love that. Yeah. And then they all gather around him and pick him up, and they exit Colosseum with Commodus just laying there to rot.
Yeah. No one. I mean, I cannot think of a more dishonorable death during the time of the Romans and gladiators in battle that they carry off the body of Maximus. And I don't think anyone even bats an eye at Commodus because he was never loved.
No.
And going back early, remember he says that line to son Lucius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Says that he sees Lucius sleeping, and he says that line that made me roll my eyes, where he was like, where he says that, like, look at him, so peaceful, he's so loved. It's like, come on, man, like, But again, that just goes to show his character. That's all he wanted, was to be loved, and he hated that Maximus got everything that he ever wanted, because Maximus was just true to who he was as a person.
100%.
And our movie finally ends on that beautiful scene of Juba burying the two figures that Maximus had of his wife and his son, and we rise up to the top of the Colosseum. That entire scene, from the moment that Maximus is staggering and trying to stay awake to give the final message to the ending of the movie, on this last watch, I definitely got emotional during that.
Yes.
I really felt that.
And Juva's last line, because he's talking to Maximus as he's burying the figures, now we are free.
We are free.
And that was it. And that's when it pans out.
I will see you again. I will see you again soon, but not yet.
Not yet.
I really, really enjoyed that. That was Gladiator, man.
That's Gladiator.
I
know we didn't do this one justice, because this movie, unlike Man of Steel, like we did last time, like you said in the beginning of this podcast, it's just so cinematic. You get so much of it just from the art of these actors' performances. Even from the Senators that I really didn't care for, just their facial expressions, knowing how bad Commodus was and what it could be. It's just, if you haven't watched it, you got to go see it. You gotta get it. You gotta rent it. You gotta find it. It's on Paramount right now. Watch it.
Yeah, I think we'll start doing that too, is that we'll kind of tell people whenever we do movie reviews what streaming services have said movies in the beginning. Yeah, so anyone that wants to watch Gladiator right now, it is on Paramount Plus. Gladiator and Gladiator 2.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Yeah. You've been cracking me up about that all session. But yeah, no, I like you said, we probably didn't do this full justice like we should have, but I think because there's so much history with Man of Steel and Superman as a character, that there was just more for us to rally on about.
Yeah.
And I think I tried my best to stick more to the story of the movie itself. So hopefully we did a pretty good job about that. I'm sure there was a lot of things that we still forgot about, but I did my best to stick to some of the main stuff in the movie.
I think you did great on the scenes. And the names, man, I give you 100% props on that, because
that's never going to be easy with some of these. Well, I kept getting that one character wrong the entire time. So, but oh well, I'll do better about that too. So let's go into our first segment of favorites and not so favorites. This is where we will do a three of favorite character, favorite line, and favorite scene, and do the same thing with not so favorite. And I wanted to change this up a bit, because anyone that listens to our Man of Steel one, I did favorite and not so favorite actor instead of character. But I wanted to change that up because I don't ever want to give off the impression that I dislike the actor in the movie, just didn't really care for the character that was portrayed. So this is how we're going to try to change it up a little bit. So for favorite character, this was a tough one because there was a lot of people I enjoyed in this, but I had to go with Proximo.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Proximo was my favorite. I love the way that Oliver Reed played this character. I thought he was very captivating, and I only wish that we could have gotten more of him. But when he was on screen, I think he really commanded everything that he did in this. So that was favorite character for me.
I agree. I totally get you on that, because even when he's standing beside Russell Crowe, he was prominent. He was not second to Russell Crowe. He was what was on screen, and just his acting and his posture and he commanded, it's me. I agree with your favorite actor. I think that's very commendable. Yeah, mine is Commodus.
Really?
It is. And
oh man, okay.
that's because of
I swear you were gonna go with Maximus.
Well, it's because of the way Joaquin Phoenix portrayed him that you hated everything about this character.
So you think he played it right because he did where because some people say if you hate the character, then you know that the person's doing something right.
Yeah.
However the line goes.
And I kind of picked this when it was kind of still like the favorite actor with the character, but I can change that over to that favorite character because his whininess and his lines just made me hate Commodus.
Okay.
So that character, and you couldn't have Maximus without that betrayal of Commodus. Because I think if we would have had just an evil, assertive enemy, I don't think Maximus would have worked as much.
I love that take. Just because I really thought going into this, like, I know exactly what Chris's favorite character is going to be. So you definitely surprised me with that, and I definitely appreciate that. My favorite line, I kind of use this for the beginning. My favorite line is, "Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity." That was my favorite line.
That's awesome. Mine is from the Senator Gracious, Gracchus.
Yeah, I could have pronounced it earlier either.
The beating heart of Rome is not the marble of the Senate. It's the sands of the Colosseum. He'll bring them death, and they will love him for it.
You win. That's a much. Yeah, I don't know if I'll always do like, oh, which line was better, but no, you win that one. That's a really good line.
And that line, you can take it. That'll so many ways. You could take that to religious standpoints. You can take that to politics standpoints. You can take it to how you rule your house, how people rule. There's just so much in that if you just think on that line, he'll bring them death and they will love him for it.
That's really good. I like that. Favorite scene. This was probably the toughest one for me because I had several scenes that I really enjoyed, but I think I'm gonna go with the one that brought me the most emotion is the ending. I think the ending of Maximus standing there, going back and forth between the afterlife and the realm of the living and holding it together. I think Russell Crowe plays that scene so well.
Yes.
I think the music in the background is beautiful. So yeah, the ending part of him delivering the last message of Marcus Aurelius is easily my favorite scene of the movie. There's several more that I could have gone with one of the Colosseum scenes. I could also have gone with one of the scenes of Proximo and Maximus together. But yeah, the ending of this movie, I think, is the best scene of the film.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that, and I'll put it towards Juba on my favorite scene, being Juba right there at the end.
At the end,
where he's burying the figures, and now we're free, because it ends everything that Maximus fought for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not so favorites. Not so favorite character, Commodus. I think I've been very vocal through this entire session of why I did not care for him. So that's my not so favorite character.
Yep, the same reasons why he is my favorite character is the reason why you hated him so much.
Absolutely.
Mine is Lucius Verus, the
son.
The son.
You thought he was super twatty.
I did. He, being as strong as his mother was, and you imagine his father being strong and stout as well, being raised in Rome, I felt like that character should have had more head held high, chest out a little more, and I just didn't get that from him. I felt like he was a sheltered little mama's boy.
He probably was.
That's still suckling on the teat. I did not like that character at all. Yeah.
Not so favorite line. As for you, You will love me as I loved you. You will provide me with an heir of pure blood, so that Commodus and his prodigy will rule for 1,000 years.
I knew that was going to be yours.
Yeah. You can probably see where it's going for least favorite scene, too. So yeah. So that made me very uncomfortable, that line. So
Yeah.
that was mine.
Well, even though he's my favorite character in the movie, my least favorite line was when Commodus saying, I will not make a martyr out of him. And it's not that I hated so much. It's the amount of crying as and after that line is delivered.
Right.
I'm like, that was just too much.
It's a lot. Not so favorite scene for me. Anytime Commodus tried to bang his sister. So take any of those scenes where he was getting a little too sibling happy, and yeah, that was mine.
You hated Commodus.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like, yeah, I think Joaquin Phoenix played the character well, but that's why I could not stand this character, because everything he did either made me roll my eyes or made me extremely uncomfortable. But hell, if that was true to Commodus in actual history, then congrats to Joaquin Phoenix. You played it right.
Yes.
Like,
that's awesome.
But yeah, that was any scene where he got a little too handsy with her. Yeah, that was mine.
My least favorite scene goes back to the very beginning of our podcast where you asked me about the son getting ran over. Maximus' son getting ran over by them horses, just trampled. That was just, I don't think that would have happened. You know, you got this young man or young boy running to meet his father, and you can completely tell these are the emperor's soldiers.
Do you think so? You're telling that you think his son should have known better? His son should have recognized as father.
I do, and if not him, the mother before she did, because the Roman soldiers, right, they were in red or purple, and the emperor, the Caesar's knights, they were in the clad of black, that black metal.
Okay.
And that just did not make sense to me. Why she would have allowed him to go when you could clearly see that's not them. And then just being trampled.
It did seem like she kind of took too long to be like, hey, that's not your dad. But by the time she got it out.
Yeah, the kid's a mile down the freaking road.
Plip plop, horses right over him. So, yeah. All right. So that was our favorites and not so favorites. If anybody can tell, I very much love the character Commodus. Next little segment we like to do here is called Give Me That Prop.
Oh, yes.
This is where me and Chris will pick one prop from the movie that we enjoy or that we wanted. And I'm going to try to do something new that, depending on who goes first, if you pick what I picked or vice versa, then the other person will have to try to pick another prop.
I know for a fact you didn't pick what I picked after all your favorites and unfavorites.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go first. So what is your prop that you want?
The prop I want is the armor Commodus has in the very beginning of the movie when he approaches Aurelius.
Okay.
That breastplate is like, oh, I gotta have that. That's that prop I want to take off.
I have a feeling that depending on like what different movies that we watch that have a lot of like period pieces or like a lot of like battle scenes, I feel like by like down the road you were going to have just a wall of different like armor from different movies. Because like so
big signs.
We might have to like start like writing this stuff down like an imaginary like collection wall of, so far you have Jor-El's armor and you have Commodus's armor.
Yes.
So
oh yes.
So my prop that I picked, and I thought that you would have picked this one too. I wasn't really sure where you were going to go with it. I picked the Rudius, the wooden sword that Proximo had that was given to him for his freedom. So I thought a little. So you only see it briefly, but I thought it was beautiful. I was like, I would love to have that wooden sword like up on a mantle or something.
That's a good one. Yes.
So that was my choice.
So you got the sword and Zod's armor.
Zod's armor, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start writing them down so I have that memory.
I think it will. I think there's gonna be some things where I'll make like a separate file or something to show like this is our imaginary room of like artifacts that we've collected from movies, which is kind of cool. So I think I might do something like that.
With the AI too, you can just put it on the computer screen.
Something,
we can just create our own room.
Something I might do. So I think something like that would actually be really cool. So I'll do that. So going into final thoughts and ratings of this movie, I guess we'll do ratings first. So I mentioned earlier that I wanted to do a new rating system compared to how we did Man of Steel. So when we did Man of Steel, we did a 1 through 10 on the movie, and we both rated it, I think, a little bit lower than what people would have expected us to rate it. And I don't want people to think, so I was a 6.5 for Man of Steel, and you were a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I think that made some people think, it's like, man, these guys really don't like this movie. Not true. I actually still very much enjoy Man of Steel. I just see it for its faults now. And I want to do a new rating system of top shelf, bottom shelf, and burn barrel. Top shelf is where a movie to me barely has any problems. I think it's amazing. I would watch it over and over again. I could not praise it highly. That's top shelf of the movie collection. Bottom shelf is to where movie has problems. It's not the best, but I would absolutely recommend it and I would watch it again. That's bottom shelf. If the movie's complete dog shit and I do not care for it and I hate it, that's going in the burn barrel. So saying that, I think I would put, going back to now put Man of Steel in a proper place. I think I would put Man of Steel bottom shelf.
And Man of Steel for me on that kind of rating would be a top shelf.
So you're 5 out of 10.
Yes, because the 5 out of 10 is a critic rating, not an enjoyment rating.
I still want to go for a critic and enjoyment rating too, which I think as we do this, we have to kind of like find that balance. But no, Man of Steel, still a very enjoyable movie, but I think I'll put that on the bottom shelf of my movie collection.
If I'm doing it as a critic rating, it would have to be a middle shelf for me. That bottom shelf.
Bottom shelf. Okay. So confirm Man of Steel is bottom shelf. Yeah.
Even though it's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. So now if we're going, we will do the same thing with Gladiator. If we're going for how we felt about the movie, looking at a critical eye and still an enjoyment eye, I'll let you go first. Where did you put Gladiator?
I put Gladiator on top shelf.
Top shelf.
For the cinematics, it's a 25-year-old movie. It's a lot of the graphics still hold up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have actors like that can make you hate them and love them, not by their lines, but just by the acting that they're giving us, for me, that is top shelf.
On my first watch of this about a week ago, I think I would have rated it a bottom shelf movie because I enjoyed it, but I'm like, man, maybe it's been so long that maybe this movie doesn't have the hype that it once had. And I'm watching it again after like 20 years later. But after the second watch, I think I would rate Gladiator as a top shelf movie too, for all the reasons that you said. I think the acting is phenomenal in this movie. I think the music is beautiful. I still can't get over how just emotionally incredible I think the ending of this movie is.
Yeah.
As much as I dislike the character Commodus, the acting of the character was played so well. I mean, everybody, Richard Harris, Oliver Reed, Russell Crowe, I think everyone did such a stellar job in this movie. I could say that there might be a few small scenes of politics talk I didn't care for, but they're not long scenes though.
They kept Senate really in the background.
I think this is still one of the strongest movies that's ever been made. And for that, I'm going to say that Gladiator is definitely a top shelf film.
Yeah.
So that now, and this is going to be something else I'm going to have to make a file for, is that we now have our first top shelf movie, Gladiator, and our first bottom shelf movie, Man of Steel. And as we go on, we'll kind of just like go down our collections.
And the odd thing about that, because you mentioned on the rating, we're rating these on, how we're criticizing them. So Gladiator,
and enjoyment too.
Enjoyment.
I think that's the hardest part is that I think we'll do our best, like try to find a balance between criticism and enjoyment.
I rate Gladiator as the top shelf for everything that I've said. Gladiator, I probably won't watch again for probably 5 to 10 years. Whereas Man of Steel, I put it on the bottom shelf, but I'm liable to watch that 2 or 3 times this year alone.
And honestly, I think we will have movies like that in the future. I can already think of some like real cheesy 80s movies that I love that will probably be bottom shelf movies, but I guarantee you I would go back to them more than whatever like some of our future top shelf movies will be.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be the rating system we stick to now.
I like that, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, top shelf, bottom shelf, and burn barrel. I can't wait till we get some burn barrel movies.
I got one in my head right now.
Can't wait. We'll add to the schedule at some point. So overall, your final thoughts on Gladiator?
Superb.
I
mean, this is why Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, they're some of the best actors in the world. You know, the cinematics, we need to go back to keeping things simple. You know, just have a stage, have that instead of just everything just CGI and plastered. You know, I get some, you know, like if we went into the Guardian of the Galaxy, of course you ain't going to have a stage in space. I get where CGI is needed, but this movie was so simplistic with it being so detailed.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to add the simplicity to this movie too for my final thoughts. I absolutely agree with everything that you said, that this is a wonderful period piece movie. Even if it deals with fictional stuff, there's still a lot of history in this film, and everyone acted out so superbly that other than a few like edit moments and a few complaints about some of the talking scenes, there's not really a whole lot I can complain about. And yeah, I think Gladiator is a solid film. And I think that's it for me, man. How about you?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we've said it all.
So too. Well, everyone, thank you again for joining us for another episode of the Bearded Geeks podcast. I am Daniel, and as we always like to say,
may we never shave and stay geeky.
Bye, everybody.